$500,000 is a number that does something specific to people. If you have significantly less than that, saved it feels like a distant milestone, something to aim for. If you have significantly more, it feels like a comfortable floor. But if you are somewhere around $500,000, if that is roughly where you are or where you are heading, it sits in this genuinely uncomfortable middle ground where you cannot tell if it is enough. And the honest answer to whether $500,000 is enough to retire on is that it depends on 5 things. And those 5 things matter so much that 2 people with exactly $500,000 saved can have dramatically different retirement outcomes. One of them is genuinely fine, the other runs out of money. This video goes through what actually determines which one you are. If this is the kind of honest retirement breakdown you want more of, subscribe and give this a thumbs up. Now let's get into the numbers. Start with the most basic question. If you have $500,000 saved and you retire tomorrow, how much can you actually spend from it each year without running out? The standard framework for this is called the 4% rule. It was developed by a financial planner named William Bengen in 1994 using historical market data going back to 1926. The finding was that a retiree who withdrew 4% of their portfolio in the first year of retirement and then adjusted that amount for inflation each year had a very high probability of not running out of money over a 30-year retirement, even through bad market periods like the Great Depression and the stagflation of the 1970s. It became the most cited guideline in retirement planning, and it remains the starting point for most retirement income conversations. 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 per year. That is $1,667 per month. Take a moment with that number. $1,667 per month from your portfolio. That is what the 4% rule gives you on $500,000. Morningstar analyzed the 4% rule for 2026 market conditions and suggested that 3.9% is actually the safest starting withdrawal rate for someone retiring this year, given current valuations and expected future returns. 3.9% of $500,000 is $19,500 per year. $1,625 per month. The difference between 4% and 3.9% on $500,000 is $500 per year. Not nothing, but not the main event either. The main event is that $1,667 per month is not a lot of money in 2026. The average American household spends somewhere between $4,500 and $5,000 per month in retirement, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, even accounting for the fact that retirees tend to spend less than working-age households. $1,667 per month from a portfolio is a significant gap from what most people need, which brings us to the number that changes everything: Social Security. The average Social Security benefit for a retired worker in 2026 is approximately $1,907 per month. The maximum benefit for someone who worked a full career at high income and claimed at 70 is significantly higher, around $4,873 per month in 2026. The minimum for someone with a shorter work history or lower earnings is lower. But for most people who worked a reasonably consistent career and claim at a normal retirement age, somewhere between 62 and 70, Social Security provides somewhere between $1,200 and $2,500 per month when you add the $1,667 per month from your $500,000 portfolio to an average Social Security benefit of $1,907 per month. You get $3,574 per month combined. That is $42,888 per year. That is a genuinely different picture than $1,667 per month alone. It is not lavish, but it is a workable retirement income for someone with reasonable expenses in a moderate cost of living area. This is why Social Security is the most underappreciated variable in the $500,000 retirement question. Most people focus on the portfolio number and treat Social Security as a bonus. The reality for most people is that Social Security is the foundation and the portfolio is the supplement, not the other way around. Now, the 5 variables that determine whether $500,000 retirement works for you specifically. Variable 1. Age. This is the most important variable and the one that changes the math most dramatically. The 4% rule was designed to last 30 years. If you retire at 65 and live to 95, that is a 30-year retirement. The rule works as designed. If you retire at 55 and live to 95, that is a 40-year retirement. The 4% rule starts to look less comfortable at $500,000. A 55-year-old retiring with $500,000 faces a different set of challenges than a 65-year-old. They have a longer runway of spending, they are not eligible for Medicare until 65, a decade of private health insurance costs that can be substantial, and they may not be able to claim Social Security for another 7 to 12 years depending on when they plan to claim. A 65-year-old retiring with $500,000 is in a meaningfully better position. Medicare kicks in immediately. Social Security can start now or soon. The 30-year runway aligns with the 4% rule as designed. A 70-year-old retiring with $500,000 is in the strongest position relative to this number. A shorter expected retirement means a higher sustainable withdrawal rate. Social Security at 70 provides the maximum possible benefit, and required minimum distributions from any traditional 401k or IRA will begin shortly, regardless of need, providing some structure to the withdrawal. Variable 2, Social Security income. We cover the averages, but the range matters. Two people can retire at 65 with $500,000 and have Social Security benefits that differ by $2,000 per month based on their earnings history and claiming strategy. That $2,000 per month difference, $24,000 per year, is larger than the entire annual withdrawal from their $500,000 portfolio at 4%. The claiming strategy alone is worth understanding. Every year, you delay claiming Social Security past your full retirement age up to age 70. Your benefit increases by approximately 8%. Delaying from 66 to 70 increases the monthly benefit by roughly 32%, on an average benefit that is several $100s per month for the rest of your life. If you live to 85, the total value of that delay strategy is significant. For a $500,000 retiree, specifically the Social Security claiming decision may be the single most important financial decision of retirement. Because the portfolio is not large enough to absorb poor Social Security optimization. Variable 3, location and lifestyle. Retiring with $500,000 in rural Iowa with a paid-off house and modest spending habits is a fundamentally different situation than retiring with $500,000 in a high-cost city with rent, high healthcare costs, and a lifestyle that requires significant monthly income. The paid-off house deserves its own mention. Housing is the largest expense in most retirement budgets. A retiree who owns their home outright has effectively pre-funded a major portion of their retirement spending. A retiree who is still renting or still carrying a mortgage is spending a significant portion of both their portfolio withdrawal and their Social Security on housing, leaving much less for everything else. A reasonable framework for $500,000 retirement viability is this. If your essential monthly expenses, housing, food, healthcare, transportation, utilities, can be covered by Social Security plus a modest portfolio withdrawal, the retirement is sustainable. If Social Security alone does not cover your essential expenses, and the portfolio has to cover a significant monthly shortfall, then the retirement is more fragile. Variable 4, other income sources. $500,000 as the only source of retirement income is a very different situation from $500,000 as part of a broader income picture. A few scenarios that change the picture significantly. Part-time work. Even modest part-time income, $1,000 to $2,000 per month, dramatically reduces the withdrawal rate needed from the portfolio. At $1,500 per month of part-time income, the effective withdrawal rate needed from $500,000 drops significantly, and the portfolio has more time to grow. A pension, a defined benefit pension from a public sector job, or a union provides guaranteed monthly income that does not depend on market performance. A retiree with a $1,500 per month pension and $500,000 in savings is in a meaningfully different position than one without it. Rental income, a paid-off rental property producing $1,000 to $1,500 per month nets income that supplements portfolio withdrawals and Social Security. It also comes with management responsibilities and maintenance costs, but as a retirement income source, it can be meaningful. Variable 5, sequence of returns, risk. This is the one that most people who have heard of the 4% rule have not fully internalized. Sequence of returns risk is the danger that bad market returns in the early years of retirement, regardless of long-term average returns, can permanently damage a retirement portfolio. Here is why it matters so much at $500,000. If the market drops 30% in the first 2 years of your retirement, and you are also withdrawing $20,000 per year, your portfolio goes from $500,000 to roughly $310,000 very quickly. Even if the market fully recovers over the following years, your withdrawals are now coming out of a much smaller base. The portfolio never fully catches up. This sequence, withdrawal combined with poor early returns, is what actually ends retirement portfolios, not poor long-term, average returns. The 4% rule has historically survived this because it was tested against every historical sequence, including the worst ones. But it was tested with a 50-50 stocks and bonds portfolio. A retiree who goes into retirement with an aggressive all-stock portfolio has higher expected long-term returns, but also higher sequence of returns risk. The first few years of retirement matter disproportionately. The practical protection against sequence of returns risk is keeping 1 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or very stable assets outside the investment portfolio. This cash buffer means that if the market drops in year 1 or 2, you can live from the cash rather than selling investments at a loss. Your portfolio stays intact or closer to intact and has time to recover before you need to sell. For a $500,000 retiree, this cash buffer might mean keeping $40,000 to $60,000 in a high-yield savings account or short-term treasuries, not invested, available. This reduces the effective investable portfolio from $500,000 to roughly $440,000 to $460,000, which slightly reduces the portfolio withdrawal capacity but significantly reduces the risk of catastrophic early sequence damage. Now the healthcare piece, because it deserves direct attention. If you retire before 65, you are not eligible for Medicare. Private health insurance for a 55 to 64-year-old can cost between $800 and $1,500 per month or more, depending on the plan, your health, your location, and the specific coverage. That is $9,600 to $18,000 per year of healthcare spending that comes directly out of your $500,000 before a single dollar goes to food, housing, or anything else. This is the primary reason why retiring at 55 with $500,000 is significantly harder than retiring at 65 with the same amount. The healthcare gap is real and it is expensive. It does not mean early retirement is impossible with $500,000, but it means the math needs to work harder to account for it. So what does a $500,000 retirement actually look like in practice? Let me give you 2 real scenarios. Scenario 1. Susan is 65. She has $500,000 in a 401k. She owns her home outright. And she lives in a mid-sized city in the Midwest with reasonable expenses. She gets $1,850 per month from Social Security. She withdraws $1,500 per month from her portfolio, slightly below the 4% rate, leaving some cushion. Her total monthly income is $3,350, which covers her expenses with some room left over. She keeps $50,000 in cash as a buffer. Her retirement works. It is not luxurious, but it is stable and sustainable. Scenario 2. David is 58. He has $500,000 in a 401k. He rents an apartment in a major city, and he has decided to retire from his career, but has not lined up any part-time income. He cannot claim Social Security for 4 more years. His rent alone is $2,000 per month. Private health insurance costs him $1,200 per month. He needs to withdraw $4,000 per month from his portfolio to meet his expenses, a withdrawal rate of almost 10%. His portfolio will not survive 30 years at that rate regardless of market performance. The difference between Susan and David is not the portfolio balance. It is every other variable around the portfolio. The honest answer to whether you can retire with $500,000 is this: $500,000 alone, without Social Security, without other income, in a high-cost area with a long retirement runway, is probably not enough for most people. The math is uncomfortable. $500,000 combined with Social Security, in a paid-off home in a moderate cost of living area with reasonable expenses, and ideally with some flexibility to earn modest additional income if needed, is a workable retirement for a significant number of people. The portfolio number is not the whole story, it never is, but it is the number people obsess over because it is the number they can control. Social Security, housing costs, healthcare timing, location, these variables matter as much or more than the portfolio balance, and most of them are decisions you make, not numbers that just happen to you. If you are heading toward $500,000 and concerned, the most useful things you can do right now are run your Social Security estimate on SSA.gov, figure out what your essential monthly expenses actually are at whatever lifestyle level feels right, and understand the healthcare gap if you are planning to retire before 65. The number is not the finish line. Understanding what the number actually means in your specific situation is.